Shivers up the spine, doesn't it? What great memories. And what a fantastic sort of new chapter that our Olympians and Paralympians wrote this summer. So 10 Olympic medals for Wales this summer, beating the previous best of 7 at London 2012 and equaling the 4 gold medals won by Welsh athletes in Antwerp in 1920. And at the Paralympics, Welsh athletes returned with a haul of 8 medals, including 5 golds. Well, we have a fantastic panel to discuss everything that happened in Rio this summer. I'm going to invite them all to come up together, so you can save your tumultuous applause until I've announced them all. So on the panel, we've got the star of the women's Great Britain Sevens team, Jazz Joyce, the director of elite sport at Sport Wales, Brian Davis. We have a double Paralympian, chair of Disability Sport Wales and UK Anti-Doping Board member Pippa Britton, and also Sian Knott, the lead physio at Sport Wales, who was part of the Team GB backroom staff in Rio. So please would you give them a very warm welcome. Welcome. Lovely to see you. All doing okay? Great, fantastic. Well, Jazz, let's start with you then first. The Olympic experience, what was it like, first of all? We loved watching on the TV. Just tell us how it was for you.
Oh, it was amazing. Obviously, I've never competed in a stage like that, and to go out there and do it with the girls that none of them have even done it either was just amazing. And obviously to get the first touch on the ball and score was an amazing experience, yeah. Yeah,
I guess you must have relived that moment. If you talked about it a lot to your friends and family, people must want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, well, my granddad, I could hear him screaming in the crowd, ah! But it was amazing, and obviously most of my family and friends managed to watch it, so they just keep telling me, oh my God, like your first touch on the ball you scored in the Olympics, but it's amazing, and obviously, yeah, I keep reliving it.
And I guess just the taste of that world stage is it leaving you wanting more? How's it affected your sort of drive and ambition and what you want to achieve?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hopefully now us Welsh girls will manage to get onto the Commonwealth and kind of get to do that experience again with the Welsh girls, and then hopefully in 4 years' time in Tokyo we'll have not one but a couple more of the Welsh girls into the Tokyo team.
Yeah, of course sevens was new to the Olympics. How did you feel that you fit in as a sport, and did you feel part of it? How do you feel that sort of rugby sevens was embraced by the Olympic family?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that rugby sevens was ideal for the Olympics, for men and the women. It's such an exciting game. It's fast-paced, and it's not like a game where you know who's going to win. Like obviously we beat Canada in day 2, and then they managed to beat us in day 3. But it's such an exciting game, and you never know what's going to happen, and never expect to win or to lose. You just have to go into a game and kind of fighting for the win.
And how much did you feel like you were flying the flag for Wales, obviously being the lone member of the team from Wales? How did you gel with the rest of the group, and did you have that sense you were representing your nation in a slightly different way to the others?
Yeah, obviously we're slightly different. I was the only Welsh one there, but to go there and do it with all the girls I've spent the last year with was just amazing. Obviously, last September I didn't know any of the girls, and then to go and kind of compete in Dubai, Russia and France, in places like that, to compete with obviously world-class players. They've been professional now for 2-3 years, so you've got players like Emily Scarrett, Jo Watmore, Alice Richardson, who are number ones in the world, and to actually get to go to the Olympics with those girls and compete with them was just phenomenal and amazing experience.
And then of course we had the Paralympics. Pippa, you obviously competed London and Beijing, but before that as well, and obviously the bar was set so high in London, wasn't it, in terms of the Paralympics? How do you think that Rio shaped up?
I think Rio actually provided an amazing athlete experience, and it's a bit like trying to compare apples and pears. I think one of the interesting things for me is the legacy that comes out of this. So for disability sport particularly, the legacy in London, I think within Britain we've talked a lot about disability sport, and I think the same is actually happening in Brazil, and that was a really interesting thing for me to see, that they were talking about the legacy of the games being the conversation that they have about disability within their country, as opposed to just the kind of sporting aspect of it, and then it would all be over and forgotten. So I thought it was a really interesting thing. I think the athlete experience though is always the most important, and I think Rio put a great job on.
And with hindsight, obviously one of the big issues in the run-up to the games before the sport started was the issue of what to do with Russia. Yes. After the evidence of state-sponsored doping. I mean, obviously the IPC ended up taking a different view to the IOC about a blanket ban for athletes from Russia. But did you agree with that? Do you think it was the right decision to make?
It's one of those kind of big emotive questions, isn't it? From a personal perspective, I think it was a very tough decision, but somebody had to make a stand, I think, and I think that's with the IOC. They had the option to make a choice, and their choice was to leave it to the international federations to choose whether to send their athletes. And I know, for example, World Archery didn't agree with the blanket ban because there's no particular history of doping within archery. But then there are other sports where the statewide doping has been proven to such an extent that at what point do you say, where's the line in the sand going to be? There has to be one at some point. And I feel really, really deeply personally sorry for the athletes who were affected by this, because I'd hate to be in that situation where I had trained so hard for 4 years and then somebody would take my chance away to compete on that stage. And so I find myself very torn, you know, from the one perspective, I believe that anti-doping is at a crossroads and somebody needs to say no more and how we're going to look at this in the future. But on the other hand, I just want to cry because of what happens to the athletes.
Ash, could I
You can, yeah.
add to that? I think Sir Philip Craven's stance, medals over morals, was quite an important statement in that decision, but it was a bit easier, if that's the right term for the IPC, because their governance structures are completely different from the IOC, and most things are driven by litigation. The IOC didn't stand a chance if they banned Russia entirely in terms of appeals, whereas the IPC structure allowed them to do it. It's a more modern organisation than the IOC, and so they took the strong stance that they could take, and I do feel sorry for the athletes, but I think in terms of the future of world sport and the integrity of world sport, what Sir Philip led with the IPC was groundbreaking and very important for the future.
Interesting. Sian, can I turn to you now? And of course, you were part of the backroom team that sort of delivered this incredible performance for Team GB. And just tell us what you were doing and how you got involved and who you were working with.
So this time I was mainly based at the British School, so it was the first time ever that Team GB have put on or facilitated a venue outside of the village for training. And I don't know what Jazz's thoughts were, because you spent quite a lot of time down there, that the feedback we had definitely from sports was that it was a really great place to come. It was the complete opposite of the village. The village was this, yes, athletes enjoyed the experience, but there had been an awful lot of work that had gone in the couple of weeks before the athletes arrived to get it to a standard that was acceptable. And I think the food hall in the village in particular led a lot to be desired in terms of the quality of food that I would say we're used to in a games environment. I'm not sure that it was there this time. And certainly British School allowed Team G to provide that. So the food we had at British School was phenomenal.
So this was what, kind of a base, another base where British athletes could sort of get away, spend some time.
So
get
it was designed for quiet training for some sports. So we had taekwondo, judo, boxing. We had Sevens come down to use it for recovery. We had archery come down to use some of the facilities. So some sports we already knew would come and use it, but actually what we found was that once word got out about how good it was down there, how good the food was, and obviously how good the support staff were, obviously. That the sports came in floods, and it was a really well-used place. And I think going forward, because the cost of that must have been phenomenal, but going forward I think they'll find it very hard to go back and not provide that kind of facility. We had an amazing gym, a brand new gym in this school. We had a pool, we had ice baths, sauna, recovery stuff we'd set up, and we'd transformed this school into something that I thought was quite special.
And how important do you think that sort of sense of preparation was in terms of, delivering this incredible medal haul across such a range of sports? That was perhaps the most surprising thing that us watching on thought, wow, we're winning in sports that we felt like we had no right to win in.
Yeah, I do personally think it made a big difference when you spoke to athletes that came down. And I'm sure, you know, it's fine for me to talk about, there were, you know, the likes of Andy Murray would come, and that was his base. He'd basically sleep in the village, go and do his training, but come back and spend the rest of his time at British School. It was a quiet environment, so he could just chill out. He mixed a lot with us, and he got all of his treatment and everything that he needed, and he just found that it was a really good place for him to be. And normally, what we've seen in the past, that sort of some of the big names like that want to keep themselves to themselves and have often not been part of the team. And I think him being part of the team within British School actually allowed other athletes to sort of feel really, really inspired by him. And I'm intrigued really to hear what Joyce's thoughts are on that in terms of, you know,
Jazz,
your
what
experience.
was it like? I mean, did you feel a kind of a sense that you were a part of the bigger team and that you were with other athletes and sort of able to mix with some of the, I guess, some very high-profile athletes from other sports as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a holding camp in Bello before we went to flew over to Rio, and we bonded with all the athletics and swimming, and we were playing Monopoly and stuff together, which is almost a chill time. Before then we got into the village, and then it was kind of, we were all competing at different times, and it was all just very hectic, and no, we couldn't really chill down because we'd be competing the next day and then they'd be competing in a week's time or something. But the British School was ideal for us. Like, we went there, and like you say, the food was amazing, and it was so much, like, to go and sit there was just to chill out rather than being in the athletes village, which is just hectic and kind of everyone.
And I wonder what sort of, I guess you need a bit of money funding to set up that sort of thing. And you know, looking ahead to the Commonwealth Games, I don't know whether the budget to set up separate bases exists. But are there kind of, Sean, what's your sense of kind of, you know, things that, lessons learned that might be useful to sort of transfer maybe into, say, a Commonwealth Games environment, and from kind of how things were done in Rio?
Yeah, you know, I mean, Rio was a special experience in itself. I think, you know, the environment in the village was, the layout of the village was phenomenal compared to other villages. A lot of thought had gone into how they were laying the village out, but obviously when you've got that many people living there, it's really difficult to sort of find any space. And if you go to the gym and use the gym facilities there, it's really difficult for individuals and teams to kind of really capitalise on getting the most out of that. And I think that's what the British School offered, was somewhere where they knew they could come and train and get quality training and get quality food. You know, and it did, I think, in that instance, make a difference.
That's interesting. And Brian, can I ask you then about the sort of returns, the medal returns for Welsh athletes, and obviously, you know, really encouraging from the Welsh athletes at the Olympics, 10 medals and quite a few fourth places too. What do you think that success was down to?
Well, medals aren't important, are they? To contradict our chair this morning, to put it in perspective, they are important. And what he was trying to say was, they're only important if you use them in the right way as a consequence. And the medals that Wales and Welsh athletes have been winning over the last few cycles, we need to do a better job of linking that with the other important aspects of sport and Welsh society. And that is a real challenge, because it's great to celebrate 10 Olympic medals, 8 Paralympic medals, but ultimately what we want is to prove that they are giving rise to increased participation, further inspiration, better social mobility, all those kind of things that are important to the nation. So we'll endeavour to keep winning medals. I was just going to answer the point actually about whether we'd replicate some of the stuff BOA did. And even if we had the kind of resource they've got, Bello was a £5 million holding camp. I mean, that would keep us going for several years, let alone just for 2 weeks. Yeah. It's important that we don't try and replicate things, not because they're not resourced, but because we need to do it the Welsh way. Yeah. We are part of GB, but we need to do things the way the athletes want them done when they represent Wales, and that can be very different. And I think Commonwealth Games Wales do a very good job of producing an environment in a Commonwealth Games that suits the Welsh athletes. Yeah. And it's not the same as England, it is very different. Having said that, we will learn some lessons about planning if the food is likely to be terrible, what we do. In Australia, it won't be terrible, it'll be better than we get here. And I don't mean the Principality Stadium, by the way, in particular.
Thanks to the caterers, we
yeah.
appreciate that.
So I just wanted to say that we need to do things the way that suits us, and given our resource. But the job for us is to make sure these medals are not just medals, that they are purposeful, and that when Jazz comes back from Tokyo with several Welsh team members, and she was the only non-English team member, by the way, not the only Welsh member, the only non-English team member. When she comes back from Tokyo with a medal, the consequence is evidenced that there are several Jazzes down in St David's all ready to come and take her place. That St David's health as the smallest city in Great Britain is the best in Great Britain. Those kind of things need to be put in place, and that's not easy, but it's something we're trying to do as an elite directorate.
I mean, to what extent, I mean, that's really interesting that you raise that. To what extent do you think that some of the performances from some of the athletes, I'm thinking like, say, Aled Sean Davis again, I mean, he is one of the big names of Welsh sport, isn't he? He genuinely is. I mean, do you think he has kind of changed the game in terms of participation, that actually many people see him as a great role model? Yes, sport, look what he's done, sport could be for me. I mean, what's your sense, Pippa, about Aled delivering again on the biggest stage, and just how he has sort of crossed absolutely over into mainstream? He is, one of the big top 10 probably athletes in Wales, isn't he? That everyone knows.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just about anybody here who plays sport probably watched the television when they were small and went, one day I want to do that, and nagged their parents, and they saw somebody winning a trampoline medal in Rio and went, whoa, Mum, can I ever go at trampolining? So I actually think that it's the one thing that I absolutely agree with Brian. We should make more of this. I had my inspiration as a child. You're going to have had your inspiration. We've all had inspiration from these athletes, and I think that that's something that we could do more with, particularly with children. It's about that, just giving them the inspiration to want to do something, even if we're giving them the inspiration to join a club and enjoy what they're doing. And I think, Aled, I think, is a great role model. And when you look at him, celebrating a great throw, then you can see, that you can feel that joy, can't you? You can't just see him. You can absolutely feel it, and I think that's a huge inspiration to all sorts of people throughout the whole of society, not just people who would directly relate to him.
And can I ask you about the performances by Welsh Paralympians? What's your assessment in terms of how our athletes have delivered in terms of medals this year?
Yeah, I think we've had a discussion already with Disability Sport Wales, and I think overall everybody's pleased, but we always need to look critically at what we've done, and I think in doing so we have agreed with Disability Sport Wales that it could have been better, and that's the attitude to have. Don't rest on your laurels, because your opposition won't be, and I think if we were brutally honest, we're probably a couple medals light of what we could have achieved with Welsh athletes in Rio. But it wasn't for the want to try, and when you examine why, there are good reasons, and the job is to make sure that those good reasons are addressed by the time the next Paralympics come round. I think the ambition for everybody, medals aside, is that these athletes are regarded as elite athletes, and I think we're there. We're getting there anyway. We're nearly there. Aled is regarded as an elite athlete. He's not regarded as an elite disabled athlete. So that journey, we're a long way down now, and that's really encouraging. So it's good news and bad news, I think, with the Paralympics.
I actually think it's one of the things that has changed probably since the mid-2000s. It started to change. Beijing, London was a big hit, and now Rio again. That what people are doing when they're watching sport, they're watching disability sport and they're seeing sport. They're not watching disability sport and seeing disability. And I think that's been a really big cultural shift, that it used to be look at the disabled person taking part in sport. Now it's look at the sport and, oh my goodness, they've got a disability. So, and it's the same thing, but actually it's people, everybody loves sport, don't they? That's the thing. And that's what they're seeing first, and I think that's a really positive thing.
My favourite moment was Rob Davis's gold medal.
Yeah.
What you saw there was an 8-year worth of emotion, not because of his disability, but because of his effort over 8 years come out. What he showed there was exactly what we need to link success with. That you're on a journey, everyone's on a journey, and your journey might end in different places, but Rob's ended in Rio, and hopefully it'll carry on to Tokyo, but I think he's enjoying himself a bit too much at the minute to make a decision on it. And it's that kind of thing we want to harness, you know, Rob's journey, not Rob's disability.
Any questions from the floor? Would love to throw it open. Any questions? We have our roving throwable microphone. So, I'm going to attempt to throw all the way here. You better duck in the front row there. Here it comes. Oh, brilliant.
Oh, hello.
Can you say who you are and where you're from?
I'm Max. I'm from Salt Wales. Just a question for any of the panel, really. I'm wondering, how do you motivate athletes that are at the kind of Olympic, Commonwealth level, who, with all the resources and all the training in the world, are very unlikely to win medals and unlikely to see the success? They're around people that do, but how do you keep people like that motivated? Who maybe they make it to the Olympics years and years, you know, every 4 years for several cycles, but don't get the medals. Is that a difficulty? Is it hard to motivate those people, or is being there enough? I just wondered, with so much success around, the more medals we win, does it make it harder to motivate the people that aren't at that level?
I can give you an uneducated psychologist point of view on that, if you like. If an athlete is relying on someone else to motivate them, they won't succeed. It has to be self-motivation. It has to be a desire from within. And so I think the brief answer to the question is we don't. They provide it. They motivate us, I think. When I see Sian at work, Sian's rushed over from treating a gymnast to be here. She's still sweating. I can feel the heat coming off her. It's because they're motivating Sian. Sian wants them to succeed. But the biggest inner success factor is the athletes themselves. So we don't need to motivate them.
I'd like to add something briefly to that, and that's that actually I don't think anybody goes to an Olympics or a Paralympics thinking, oh well, as long as I get there it'll be fine. You know, you're not an elite athlete if you're aiming for second best. That's
Same thing.
It's
different for
I think it's about them achieving the best that they can achieve.
Yes.
And I think if they go in with that mindset, then whatever they achieve on that day is what they achieve.
Little boy from the Rhondda came 6th in the Paralympics. I don't know if you saw that tweet from Rhys. We saw his video earlier. My proudest moment is Rhys gave me his pin badge from the Paralympics. So that was quite motivating for me. But Rhys is a hugely motivated young man. 6th for him was a success. He was motivated to achieve a final, which is what he did, and he came 6th. He didn't come 8th. And that tweet just went viral. You know, little boy from the Rhondda came 6th in the world. Brilliant.
Very good. Any more questions? I've probably got time for one more, I think. Yes, if we could go for the throw. Nice work. Excellent.
Helo. Nathach chi sôn am ffordd nathach chi yn Gemer Gymanwlad, un o'r tîm defnyddio cael pawb i werthfawrogi'r Gymraeg. So you talked about how the Welsh language united the team in Commonwealth Games. Now everyone's gone away and become British athletes, some people. How do you bring that back? Should chi'n dod yn ôl wrth fynd i Australia? How do you bring that unity back to the team?
Yeah, do with him and Arnold. It's not difficult. Most athletes, when you interview them or talk to them about their experience at elite level, Olympic, Paralympic or Commonwealth, hugely proud to wear a GB vest in Olympics or Paralympics. Equally, arguably, if not more so, to wear the Welsh shirt or vest kit at the Commonwealth Games. Jazz is fed up of seeing me. I saw Jazz at the homecoming, and she was a bit aghast that Wales isn't definitely going to the Commonwealth Games at women's sevens, or men's sevens yet, actually. And it was like, what do you mean? I want to play for Wales. I want to, and that's the kind of attitude. So when they're at the Commonwealth Games, we use the Welsh language quite well. I think we're the only nation in the Commonwealth that has bilingual on its kit, and believe it or not. So we use the Welsh language to our advantage there to try and motivate the athletes. But again, I don't think we don't need to. They really want to wear Welsh kit on the biggest stage that they can, and for the multi-sport events, that is the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, and I would concur with that, because for some of the Paralympic guys in particular, whose events maybe aren't in the Commonwealth, that they find it quite distressing that they can't actually compete for Wales.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jochen Val. quick sum up then before we just one of the other big stories, I guess, is just the huge success of female athletes, Welsh female athletes over the summer. I mean, Jazz Carlin, Becky James, both kind of fantastic stories of overcoming difficulty and injury to sort of make it and then deliver medals. And of course, Hannah Mills and Jade delivering again. Jazz, I just wonder how kind of inspirational that is to see sort of Welsh women really an incredible summer delivering real success and how that kind of spurs you and your teammates on as you look ahead.
Obviously that's amazing, and obviously we wanted to get the medal, but we didn't. It was disappointing to come fourth, but to aspire to people like that is just exactly what we need to do and what all of the athletes need to do. They need to watch their top end players in their sports and then just aspire to them. But it was just amazing to watch so many of the Welsh and GB athletes doing well and getting the medals.
Is there any reason why the female athletes are the ones who really delivered?
Wales doing particularly well on female elite sport. The Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, more medalists were female than male. 5 golds, 4 of them came from female athletes. Is there any particular reason? I think Sport Wales and the governing bodies have had a focus on women and girls sport in generally for several years now. Is the success a consequence? It certainly helps. Sport Wales and the governing bodies have invested in grassroots female sport. But ultimately, I think we're made of good stuff. I think we've got a female nation in Wales that just like doing well, and we're tough. Whether that's the economic environment our generations have grown up in, maybe, but we definitely produce some tough cookie female athletes and who persevere. Jazz and Becky, I mean, that was hard to come back from in both cases, really, and they both did it, and they both did incredibly well. So you couldn't put your finger on one thing as to why female athletes in Wales are doing so well. Britain aren't doing quite so well. The stats certainly are better in Wales than in GB. But so without Welsh female athletes, GB stats would be awful. So,
we have some really good support, I think, as well.
Yeah, well done. Great. Well, it's been great to watch everyone's success, and thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts. Jazz, congratulations to you. We love watching you, and thank you very much, all of you. Let's give a big round of applause to our panel. Thank you. Thank you. You're free to go. Great. Well, thanks very much. That was great, wasn't it? Reliving some great memories and thinking a little bit about how that success was achieved. We are in the home straight now, and so much has been said today, and we have really had some fantastic contributors and loads of really good debate across the sessions. But I guess there's no question that there is a real appetite in this room and amongst everyone in the sports sector in Wales to get 1 million more people active in Wales. So I guess the question is how to pull all of this off together and put everything that we've heard into some context. And we're going to give that job now to the Sport Wales Chief Executive, Sarah Powell. Sarah, over to you.
I didn't know that was the challenge, because that is quite a challenge. Actually, I've got the great honour of doing 2 things. So the first is quite a few thank yous. So a huge thank you to Becky and the team straight away. This is Becky's first major event for us, and she's done a fantastic job. First conference. So to Becky and the team, I think we deserve to give them a quick round of applause. To all the speakers and the people that have contributed today to make this such a success, a thank you to you. I'm not going to do claps for everybody. A thanks to the Principality Stadium and the Welsh Rugby Union for hosting us. I think this has been a fantastic venue, enabled us to get out, have some space, and really has enabled us to facilitate the type of conference that we wanted. To Ashley, Constant Pro, I will be charging you for the amount of times you have publicised beep, 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 because I won't publicise them, but you've done a fantastic job today of steering us through. So my next job is the biggest job. I have to sum up today. Well, I don't think I can unless you've got another 4 or 5 hours and you're willing to stay for that amount of time, and I don't think people will be. But there's just been a huge amount of energy, a huge amount of conversation and discussion going on, And that's really what the aim of today was. It was to start a conversation, to start our engagement of Sport Wales, listening and talking to our partners about something that the Minister and the Chair have identified as it's a collective challenge. But the great thing is that we can find a collective solution. But we'll only find a collective solution if we all come at it together. The great thing is we're coming at it from a position of strength. This is certainly the time when we should look to change and to develop, because actually Wales is one of the most successful nations, not only in terms of the medals that we've seen today, but we've actually seen fantastic increases in participation, both from young people and adults. We've also seen our volunteering numbers increased, and our national governing bodies have more members than they've ever had before. But does that mean we stop? No, of course it doesn't. We know we've got an even bigger challenge that we face, because we've engaged probably with those that are engaged with sport and physical activity, the ones that have been able to engage with a simple message. The challenge to us all now is to engage with those that maybe haven't resonated in that first instance with the term sport and physical activity. How do we do that? We come and we work together to find joint solutions. I've taken away 4 areas that I want to start having conversations with you about. And it won't only be me, it'll be the whole of Sport Wales, and I hope that you will have similar conversations so that we come back with the right and better answers. Start with, we need smarter solutions. We need to use the insight, the intelligence that we all have around this room today, and the intelligence that is already out there. We have huge data sets, but we also have so many great thinkers. And that's not only the thought leaders that are in this room, it is the young people and the people that we need to engage with. We heard the Minister say it, we've got to find people solutions. And the only way we're going to get that is from talking to the people that maybe aren't quite engaged with us yet. We've also got to be stronger. In terms of that strength, we've got to work together. We've got to become better connected. We've talked about collaboration, we've talked about working together in different forms and in different ways. But it must move from just talking. We have to see a much more united approach. How do we bring together football and rugby? We've already talked about some ideas today that we're seeing. Huge players in the sporting sector. How do we bring housing associations into the sports sector? We had a great talk from Sian and Richard about mental health. How do we engage not directly with people that may have mental health issues, because we may not be the people they want to interact with, but the groups that they work with are the people that we can interact with. So how do we formulate much stronger and much larger networks? Sustainability. Of course, finance is an issue, but we must not see that as something that's a hurdle that we can't overcome. Actually, we can find greater, more sustainable solutions through innovation, through technology. We've heard about we've got to get people away from their iPads. Actually, we could get people to engage with their iPads, engage with the technology on their wrists. How do we find more sustainable solutions? How do we talk about a more commercial approach? How do we generate more income from the wider sector? We talk about the sport well. Well, the sport well might be drying up too quickly because we're all coming to the same watering hole. How do we make sure there are other wells that we can all attract and we can all work well with to make sure that sport and physical activity is taken forward? But I think our biggest challenge is how do we define success? Brian and the team just alluded to how medals are easy to see. But actually the success that we want to be measured on is how do we inspire that young people to be the next Jazz? That is success. How do we show the social return for the work that we're doing? How do we show that we bring community cohesion? What is the value of getting older people back involved in society? How do we measure that? I don't have the answers. But we will be coming to you to talk to you about how do we show the genuine value of sport and physical activity. And in my closing, I'm going to steal Caroline's use of the term vehicle. what I see is that we have a great vehicle. That vehicle is sport and physical activity. And that vehicle can come in many, many different forms and in different shapes and different guises. And the challenge for us, I believe, is that we want people to come and pick that vehicle, to use the vehicle of sport as a matter of choice. So that becomes their solution. It becomes something that where they come to sport to help them with their problems. That for us is the challenge that we face. I don't want to end on me being the telling person, because actually what we're here to do is come together collectively, find the solutions together, listen and go out and celebrate what we can do together to make Wales a very healthy, active and sporting nation. So thank you very much for all of your contributions. The success of today will come from all of your work today, but what we do from now on. It is the start of the journey, not the end of the journey. So, diolch yn fawr iawn, safe journey home for all of you. But if you are also coming to the Ignite session, which is again about new innovation, us listening to new ideas and creative ideas, I will see you at Ignite. So, thank you very much.
And that, folks, is about it. Sarah, thank you very much indeed for wrapping things up so nicely. Sarah mentioned Ignite there. Let me just mention that to you. It's the first ever Sport Wales Does Ignite event, which is going to be held at the Cuckoo Club, which is in the Park Plaza Hotel, from 6:30 p.m. tonight. I'm told what it is basically an evening of sort of 5-minute talks delivered by a variety of speakers, all with a sort of story to tell about sport. I'm told there are a few tickets left if you want to turn up to the venue at 6:30 or see a member of the Sport Wales staff here. They'd be glad to sort of sort you out with a ticket, and so you can come along. That'd be great. Can I also say as well, please do, before you go, give us some feedback about the whole conference as well, please, on DoPoll. There are some questions about how the conference has been organised. We'd love to, I guess Sport Wales want to keep making these conferences better and better year on year to deliver exactly what you want from them. So please do go to DoPoll before you go and leave us some feedback as well. And I guess, finally, just to reiterate what Sarah said, thank you very much indeed for all that you do and your willingness to share your passion for sport in every corner and community of Wales. To get 1 million more people active and engaged in sport in Wales. That's a fantastic goal, and I wish you all every success as you go back and get on with the fantastic work. Thank you very much indeed for coming to the conference. Have a safe journey home. Diolch yn fawr. Noswaith dda. Thank you.